We're still under our third caution here as the cars are heading towards the hairpin, as we saw all the events that were going on with the 64, and since then Max Papis shredded the left front tire. There was damage to the left front as they got the car restarted, and Max finds himself back in 30th position now, and there he is.
Looks like he got the fenders all pulled off, and it's missing part of the fender. The crew's trying to get the thing pound out a little bit, but he'll be able to get back on the racetrack, that's for sure. And I don't know how important these aerodynamics are going to be, Randy, with as slow as they're going out there.
This is true, and see if the toe's right, but if that tire just come apart from a piece of metal sticking in it, you know, this thing wants to get back on the racetrack and pick up points. This car's still in the points.
Oh, yeah, it's still in the points. And David Stremley normally drives this car, but this was a planned thing with Max to run the road course. That's the reason David's not in the car. He'll be back in the car from Michigan and the rest of the year.
And we'll be right up front with you. We do not have it on replay, so we don't know exactly how Max ended up into the tire barrier. There is the team car with the 66, and Stephen Wallace is right now shown in 11th position. He has moved up 29 positions since the start of this race. So we eavesdropped on the radio and checked in to see what was going on with the 66.
When I say talk to me, I mean you guys got to talk, because I swear I got my windshield's covered in mud. I ain't trying to yell at you, I just want talking to me at all. Once the windshield's wet, it's fine, dude. But when I go back to green, when the shit's, you know, all like muddy, then I'm screwed because I can't see where I'm going.
So it goes back to green and shifts it. It's all muddy. You can't see what he's going. I guess that's the most critical part when he's grabbing the gears, and you really got to hold on to that thing tight. He just doesn't have the vision.
You know, he got mud on it, and he needs a lot of water to get that mud off that windshield.
Yeah, he's just got to have a lot of rain on it. Here they go. This should wash it off right here.
So as we're back to green flag racing, there goes Marcus Ambrose. What a familiar sight this has been. Oh, and look at behind in the battle for third. Listen to the Canadian fans. That's Carpentier in the 9. He's on the outside of the 40 of Pruitt. Oh, and he loses it there. Just a little too slick for him. He'll fall back in. So let's reset. It is Marcus Ambrose in front of Jacques Villeneuve. Scott Pruitt is now third. Patrick Carpentier is fourth. Carl Edwards has moved up to fifth around Andrew Ranger. And oh, Carl's getting it sideways.
He's got a great feel for a race car. He's checking these tires. He's like, how much grip do I have? And he's on 95 percentile all the time.
I guarantee you he wasn't working the squeegee at that particular moment. The pass for position behind him there is Joey Logano going around Andrew Ranger. So all of a sudden, in less than a lap, Ranger has dropped 2 spots.
Got to give these guys a chance to warm their tires back up and get back in the groove, get the rhythm going, because under caution, the track just got really wet again, so
remember Ron Fellows, the guy who has 12 laps in hand over everybody in front of him? That is Fellows in the 5, zeroing in on the 20 of Joey Logano. That is for 6th position. Fellows may be in the best position of all if this race stays green from here on out.
You know, one thing we have to notice, you know, it looks bright on TV, but it's getting darker and darker here too.
And the rain continues to fall. Carl tiptoeing around the corner. Meanwhile, the battle towards the front. Pruitt holding off the ever-charging number 9 of Patrick Carpentier.
Tell you what, guys, it's wet as it's been all day long. The vision is really bad for the drivers right now, and it's getting dark outside, just like you said. Take a look at him getting down in the corner here.
Marcus Ambrose has already reestablished his 4-second lead. He is going to be...
a lot of fuel for me.
Clear. All clear, buddy. Good job.
All right, so we're getting word that the 25 just came to pit lane. Mike?
Yeah, they were growing more and more frustrated by the lap. Frankie Stoddard wanted to make sure he could disconnect that rear bar, and he may have just got off the race course there a little bit as he struggles through the corner, but they felt like they were at a huge disadvantage, so they brought Boris Said down pit road to make that adjustment and disconnect that rear bar, Marty.
All right, so again, we'll have to see how that strategy plays out as he now comes back out onto the racetrack and the latest to hit pit lane.
Guys, what I was trying to say earlier before we had to caution with Max Papis, the 32 car of Jacques Villeneuve, he came by with the front sway bar unhooked and the rear sway bar unhooked. So that car has no sway bars whatsoever on it right now.
And I'm doing the calculations with the 40 laps to go. If this stays in a wet condition, I'll tell you what, Boris Said could go the distance theoretically if he saves enough fuel.
That's what he said. You heard him say, hey, save me some fuel. So that means he's got to be very easy on the gas. But that's if this thing goes the distance. I'm not sure it's going to go to distance.
Well, as you can see, Marcus Ambrose, he's been getting the back end loose. In second place, it's Jacques Villeneuve as he has closed the gap down a little bit to 2.5 seconds. Then Patrick Carpentier, Scott Pruitt. So Pruitt has dropped back to fourth. And there is Andrew Ranger, who peels off. And Vince, you're there.
Well, Andrew Ranger took on 4 tires, and they, of course, filled it full of fuel. And most importantly, of course, obviously the fuel is incredibly important, but they needed to clean his windshield. They spent a lot of time on the windshield getting it clear for him. He missed it, cost a couple of spots, as you noted, Marty, in that previous run, and they wanted to make sure that his vision was not being impaired by the fogging of the windshield and the rain and the heavy dew that has accumulated here on these windshields on these race cars.
Oh, and Andrew Ranger competed with Colin Brown, Frizzell, and Wilkins in the 08 Rolex 24. So he has some experience, as we have already pointed out. His days in Champ Car was the youngest ever to finish on the podium in a Champ Car race, that being a second place finish. Meanwhile, I'll tell you what, we were getting ready to say it about Marcus Ambrose. He is going to get the nickname as the Rainmeister of NASCAR.
Take a look at this 32 car. If you look, you can barely, I saw underneath of it on a different shot. You can see the sway bars unhooked. And look how much the car is rolling, Randy.
Yep.
Rolling a lot to the left, rolling a lot to the right. A lot of body roll. See it right there underneath it. Completely unhooked. So it's what they do in the rain. I've always heard about this. I've never seen it. Made a pit stop and unhooked all the bars. Pretty cool.
And you heard the 59. They didn't do a whole lot at all. You know, so that just tells you that that race team needs to be commended, and Marcus is doing a wonderful job.
All right, we are approaching the halfway mark. The race will be official, but what's the word down in pit lane about going the distance, Jackaroo?
Well, Marty, we should point out NASCAR is mum. They intend to run this race all the way to the end. But if you listen to some of the crew chiefs and the chatter on the radios back and forth between the drivers, and you're not quite sure, is it wishful thinking, or are some teams starting to think that this thing will not go the distance? Randy LaJoie, you touched upon the subject. Just like a lot of crew chiefs in their conversations back and forth with their drivers right now. That means they're going to have to try and make fuel the same way as some of the others, including Boris Said, are trying to right now.
Tell you what, these guys pitted on lap, I guess it was lap 10 when he put fuel in it. The guy's leading the race, actually. They can go to lap 40 or 42, which is going to be well past halfway. 37 laps is the halfway here at Montreal, so I'm sure they're going to want to get past that in case this thing does get red flagged for some reason. But right now, guys, it just all looks good. Just looks good out there right now. These guys are driving in rain pretty good.
Well, and here's Joey Logano taking a little off-road excursion and
coming in hot. That's one of the areas that they don't make you stop.
Well, Joey's back out on course and is still in 6th position, as it is Marcus Ambrose still leading by 3.6 seconds over Jacques Villeneuve, and the fellow Canadian Patrick Carpentier in 3rd. Don't go away. This is still far from over.